college football fans. Welcome to Robert Sports Show on the NCAA Week 7 preview. We have some big games here for you. I'm going to run those down. First, we have the match out of the ACC. We have the Coastal Division versus the Atlantic Division. We have the 3-3 Duke Blue Devils versus the 7th-ranked 4-1 Louisville Cardinals. Only the second ever meeting between these two schools back in 2002. Louisville blew out Duke 40-3. In this game, Louisville's favored by 34.5 with an over/under of 71. I have Louisville winning. I think Duke can cover the 34.5. I don't think it's going to be that big of a blowout like it was in 02. I'm taking over on the 71. I think there'll be some points scored here. Next, out of the American Conference West Division, we have the 4-1 Memphis Tigers versus the 3-2 Tulane Green Wave. This is the 32nd meeting between these two teams. Memphis leads the overall series 20-11. Last year, Memphis blew out Tulane 41-13. Memphis needs a win here in order to stay in the American Conference, stay up for the possible playoffs and stuff. So, a conference championship will go a long way with the playoff committee. Memphis is favored by 11.5. I actually have Memphis winning. They cover the 11.5. I'm taking over on the 54.5. Next, out of the Mountain West, out of the West Division, we have the 4-1 San Diego State Aztecs versus the 1-5 Fresno State Bulldogs. All-time series between these two schools, 28, 23-4, led by San Diego State. Last year, San Diego State won the matchup 21-7. San Diego is favored by 17.5. I got San Diego State winning, Fresno covering the 17.5, and under on the 54.5. San Diego State, they want to stay in competition for the Mountain West title. They need a win here. They're tied with Hawaii right now for the conference, with conference standings, so they need a win here. This next game, I can actually see it going either way, honestly. We have out of the ACC, we have the Atlantic Division, we have the North Carolina State Wolfpack at 4-1 versus the 3rd-ranked Clemson Tigers at 6-0. In conference, Clemson, Louisville, NC State, Wake Forest, they're all right there. If somehow North Carolina could pull a victory out here, they would be tied with Clemson for the ACC record. So, a lot on the line here. All time between these two schools. Clemson 55-28-1. They won 4 straight. They've won 11-12. So, nothing really points to NC State being able to win this game. But what if? You know, that would just blow up the freaking ACC, wouldn't it? Clemson's favored by 17.5. I do have them winning. I have NC State covering the 17.5. I'm taking over on the 56. But this is one of those games where I could see there being an upset here. But I'm not taking the upset. I'm taking Clemson. Next, out of the Big Ten, East versus West, we have the Minnesota Golden Gophers at 3-2 versus the 4-1 Maryland Terrapins. Second meeting between these two schools. The first since 1977 when Maryland won 17-7. Maryland's favored by 4.5 at home. I got them covering the 4.5. I got them winning. I got under on the 55.5. Next, out of the Big 12, we have Kansas State Kansas State Wildcats. It's the Kansas Jayhawks, Kansas State Wildcats. The Wildcats are 3-2 versus the 19th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners at 3-2. All time between these two schools, Oklahoma State leads the series 38-24. Last year, Oklahoma State won 36-34. Oklahoma State's favored by 10.5 at home. I got Oklahoma State winning, Oklahoma Sooners. Don't know why I said Oklahoma State there. Oklahoma Sooners, 19th ranked, favored by 10.5. I have them winning at home. K-State covering the 10.5 and over on the 64. Out of the Big 12, we have 20th ranked West Virginia Mountaineers at 4-0 versus the Texas Tech Red Raiders at 3-2. All time, this is the sixth game between these two teams. Texas Tech is 3-2. West Virginia won last year 31-26. West Virginia's favored by 1. I have West Virginia winning. I have them covering the 1. I'm taking under on the 83. Why the over-under is 83 in this game, I'll never know. I mean, I know these teams can put some points up, but good God. That's ridiculous. Of course, now that I say that, and I took the under, it's going to be like a 50 to 49 score or something stupid, but I am taking the under in 83. The Conference USA East Division, we have the West Kentucky Hilltoppers at 3-3 versus the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders at 4-1. All-time series, Middle Tennessee leads at 34-30-1. Last year, Western Kentucky won 58-28. Middle Tennessee's won 5 out of the last 7. As we all know, last year Western Kentucky was actually good. They were ranked for a short time, and yeah, this year they're just not that good. It seems like everybody else got better, one of the two. I got Middle Tennessee winning. They covered the 2.5 and under on the 71. Out of the ACC Atlantic Division, we have the Wake Forest Deacons at 5-1 versus the 14th ranked Florida State Seminoles at 4-2. As I've said in previous videos, I have a big problem when these one-loss teams and undefeated teams are below a two-loss team. I just don't fucking get it. I know, strength of schedule, whatever, whatever. These schedules are made for so far in advance that here's the way I'm looking at it now. And I thought about this, I put a lot of thought into this, and I know last year I was doing some rankings each week, and it was kind of difficult, I'll say the least, but I got thinking about it and came up with a couple different systems this year, and I go to spreadsheet them on the computer, got my Excel spreadsheet trying to figure it all out, and I didn't like the idea, and I came up with a new idea that I'm going to do. If you beat the people on your schedule, you should be rewarded for that. If you lose to the people on your schedule, you should be dinged for that. Plain and simple. A win's a win, a loss is a loss. If you look at the March Madness NCAA basketball tournament every March, 68 teams. If you lose, you go home. Plain and simple. There is no good loss and bad win and all that. If you look at the regular season for the NCAA tournament, or NCAA basketball, for more than likely, a win is a win, a loss is a loss. If you look at professional sports, a win is a win, a loss is a loss. A good win or a bad loss is not equal to a bad win. So that's how they should do it in NCAA. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through all 128 FBS teams, taking the preseason rankings, and then whatever they did in week 1. So if the number 1 team beat the number 19 team, the number 2 team beat the number 10 team, that's a win. Both are wins, but it's a better win because they beat a higher ranked team, so they would be number 1. So on down the line. So if the number 10 team beats the 50th team, but the number 9 team beats the 90th team, that 10 team jumps up. So I'm going to put all the winners together. So if you won, boom. And then wherever your win ranks based on the ranking. So if you face an FCS team, yes, you won, but you'll be at the bottom of the winners part. Same way with one loss. I will rank your one loss. Okay, if you lost to the number 1 team, you're going to be ranked higher than if you lost to the number 5 team. Plain and simple. So I'm going to go through the previous 6 weeks. I'm working on that now. And then hopefully try by week 8, week 9-ish, I'll get our rankings out. And that way all the undefeated teams are together, all the one-loss team, will be together, all the 2-loss, etc., based on all 128 FBS teams, and then all the FCS teams that play the FBS programs. So stay tuned to that. That's coming because of things like this. There are 4 2-loss teams in the top 25. Disgusting. Unfortunately, I do have a 2-loss team beating a 1-loss team here. I had Florida State winning. But this is like the other game. I could see this game going either way. I could see Wake Forest stepping up and beating a Florida State in Florida State. All time, these two schools, Florida State 27-6-1. Last year they won 24-16. They won 4 out of the last 7. 4 straight, 6 out of the last 7. Highly unlikely, but this could be an upset. But I am taking Florida State to win. I'm taking them, Wake Forest, to cover the 21 that Florida State's favored by at home. 3 touchdowns? Are you serious? I do have Wake Forest covering that, and I'm taking under on the 53. Next, out of the Big Ten, we have the East versus West. We have the number 10 Nebraska Cornhuskers at 5-0 versus the Indiana Hoosiers at 3-2. All time, Indiana leads the series 9-7-3. Nebraska's won 4 straight. The last time these two schools played was 1976. Nebraska won 69-17. Nebraska's favored by 4 on the road. I have Nebraska winning, covering the 4, and under on the 55.5. Out of the ACC Coastal Division, North Carolina Tar Heels, 4-2 versus the 16th ranked Miami Hurricanes. This is another one of those games that an upset would not shock me, but I'm taking Miami. All time, Miami leads the series 9-8. Last year, NC State won 59-21. Miami's won 4 out of the last 6. Miami's favored by 6.5 at home. I got them winning, covering, taking under on the 63. SEC, West versus East. This is a possible SEC championship preview. Unfortunately, you have Alabama, number 1 ranked, 6-0, versus the number 9 ranked Tennessee Volunteers, 5-1. In the SEC, Alabama's 3-0. Tennessee is 2-1. LSU is 2-1. Florida is 2-1. As we all know, LSU versus Florida last week was canceled due to Hurricane Matthew. While other games in Florida State played, why couldn't they have moved this game to Sunday or Monday and still played it? Because by Sunday, the hurricane was in the Carolinas, and I know this because I am a NASCAR fan, and the NASCAR race was postponed from Saturday night to Monday because of Hurricane Matthew. Why, oh why, couldn't this game have been played? Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to have a great upset here, and Tennessee's going to beat the number 1 ranked Alabama. Then you're going to have Alabama at 3-1. You're going to have Tennessee at 3-1. You're going to have LSU and Florida State 2-1, 2-1. LSU could have been 3-1. They could have been fighting for an SEC championship. But because that game wasn't played, they're half a game behind other teams. So LSU could Florida and LSU, both of them, legit could be fucked out of an SEC title because of Hurricane Matthew. Why, oh why, can that game have been played? Let's all hope that does not happen, because then the NCAA would just fucking explode, because fans of Florida would be fucking pissed. Anyway, back to this game. We have the number 1 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide at 6-0 versus the 9th ranked Tennessee Volunteers at 5-1. I think this could be a game of the weekend, a game of the day. Alabama leads the all-time series 52-38-7. Last year, Alabama won 19-14. Alabama has won 9 straight. They've won 11 out of the last 14. The first game between Tennessee and Alabama was in 1901. Alabama is favored on the road by almost 2 touchdowns, by 13 points. Possible upset, possible SEC championship preview. I am taking Alabama. It's Nick Saban. I wouldn't be shocked if Tennessee win this, but I'm taking Alabama to win. I got them covering the 13. I'm taking under on the 50.5. Next, out of the Big 12, we have the Kansas Jayhawks at 1-4 versus 11th ranked Baylor Bears at 5-0. All-time, Baylor leads the all-time series 11-4. Baylor's won 6 straight. Last year, Baylor won 66-7. Baylor's favored by 34 at home. I have them winning, covering, and over on the 67. Mountain West, Mountain Division, we have the 4-1 unranked Arizona Falcons versus the New Mexico Lobos at 2-3. All-time, Air Force leads this series 21-12. Last year, New Mexico won 47-35. Air Force is favored by 2 touchdowns and a half, so by 14.5. With an over-under of 60, I have Air Force winning, covering, and under on the 60. In the MAC, West versus East, we have the 24th ranked undefeated, 24th ranked Western Michigan Broncos at 6-0 versus the Alcorn Zips at 4-2. All-time, Western Michigan leads the series 13-4. Last game was in 2011. Western Michigan won 68-18. They're favored by 10.5 on the road. I had them winning, going to 7-0, and covering the 10.5 and over on 68. They're barely ranked. They're 6-0, and you have 4 two-loss teams ranked above them. Come on now. That's a bunch of bullshit. Wait till my rankings come out. The MAC, East versus West, with Bowling Green Falcons at 1-5 versus Toledo Rockets at 4-1. Another 4-1 team, unranked. All-time, Bowling Green leads at 39-37-4. Toledo won 6 straight. Last year they won 44-28. Toledo's favored by 30 at home. They win it, they cover it, under on the 72. Next, the Sun Belt, we have the Georgia State Panthers at 1-4 versus the Troy Trojans at 4-1. All-time, Troy leads the series 2-1. Last year, Georgia State won 31-21. Troy's favored by 17 at home. Taking Troy Trojans to win. They'll cover the 17. It's 2 touchdowns and a field goal. And over on the 56.5. If you haven't figured it out already, I did the top 25 plus any one-loss team not in the top 25. So, to me, all these teams have an argument to be in the top 25 when you have 4 two-loss teams in the top 25. Out of the the Atlantic versus Coastal Division matchup, we have the 17th ranked Virginia Tech Hokies at 4-1 versus Syracuse Orange at 2-4. Syracuse leads the all-time series 9-8. Virginia Tech won in 2003, 51-7. Virginia Tech is favored by 19.5 on the road. I have Virginia Tech winning. I have Syracuse covering the 19.5 and under on the 65. The SEC East, we have the Missouri Tigers at 2-3 versus the 18th ranked Florida Gators at 4-1. All time, Missouri leads the series 3-2. Last year, Florida won 21-3. Florida's favored by almost 2 touchdowns, by 13.5 at home and an over under 48. I do have Florida winning this. You know, that even makes it even better. They'll be 3-1 in the SEC at that point. And I have them winning by 13, covering the 13.5 and over by 48. With them having a week off to prepare for Missouri and not having to face LSU, is that going to help them or is that going to hurt them? They basically get 2 bye weeks this year. Playing football when you can rest up a week and your opponents can't, we'll see what happens, but they might get screwed because of that. They could win out, but they're half a game behind because they missed a SEC game. Pac-12, North versus South. We have the 21st ranked Utah Utes at 5-1 versus the Oregon State Beavers. All time, Oregon State leads the series 11-8-1. The last 2 matchups, Utah won 27-12 and 29-23. Utah favored by 9 on the road. Taking Utah to win, they'll cover the 9 and under on the 50.5. Out of the SEC West, we have the 12th ranked Ole Miss Rebels at 3-2. 22nd ranked Arkansas Razorbacks at 4-2. Oh, here's what it is. A lot of these 2-loss teams that are ranked, here's 2 of them, Ole Miss and Arkansas, both SEC teams. Florida State, and who's the other 2 lost to? Oklahoma. So we have an ACC, a Big 12, and 2 SEC teams with 2 losses in the top 25. The SEC is treated like they are better than everyone else. Yes, they have some phenomenal teams. Yes, they win a lot of games. But because they're the SEC and they have this reputation, they're able to get better players. Because when they recruit, they could say, hey, we have a pedigree. Okay, come here. Right or wrong, they're favored by the NCAA, and there's a big reason why. All-time, Arkansas leads the series 34-28-1. Arkansas has won 2 straight. Last year they won 53-52 and 30-0. Ole Miss is favored by 7.5 on the road. I'm taking Arkansas at home. I'm giving them the 7.5. They're going to cover it. They're going to over on the 65.5. American East Division, the Connecticut Huskies at 3-2 versus the South Florida Bulls at 5-1. Series all time. South Florida leads at 8-5. They've won 4 straight. Last year they won 28-20. South Florida's favored by 19.5 at home. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 52.5. The American West Division, the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes at 4-1 versus the 13th ranked Houston Cougars at 5-1. This should be a pretty good game for the American Conference. All time, Houston leads at 22-18. Houston's won 2 straight. They won 38-24, then they won 38-28. Houston's favored by 3 touchdowns at home. I have Houston winning. I have Tulsa covering those 3 touchdowns. I'm taking under on the 70.5 points. Out of the Big Ten, East versus West. This is probably one of the top 5 games of the weekend. Second-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes 5-0 versus the 8th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers at 4-1. All-time Ohio State leads 57-18-5. They won 4 straight. 2014, Ohio State annihilated Wisconsin 59-0 in the Big Ten championship game. Ohio's favored by 10.5 on the road. This could be an upset. This is one of 4 games that I've said that 3 games I said could be a big upset. I am picking Ohio State to win on the road, covering the 10.5 and over on the 45.5. But I would not be surprised if this is one of the games that Wisconsin's able to win by a field goal last minute and get that much-needed Big Ten victory over Ohio State. Next, out of the Pac-12 South, we have the Arizona State Sun Devils at 5-1 versus Colorado Buffaloes at 4-2. All-time Arizona 7-0 versus Colorado. Last year they won 48-23. Colorado's favored by 13 on home. I'm giving the 13 to Arizona State. They cover it and over on the 62. Last but not least, we have Mountain West Mountain Division. We have Colorado State Rams at 3-3 versus the 15th ranked Boise State Broncos at 5-0. Boise State's 5-0 versus the Rams all time. Boise State's favored by 31 at home. I have them winning, Colorado State covering the 31 and over on the 59. So that'll wrap up Week 7 of the NCAA season. Like I said, I will get that rankings hopefully by Week 9. Before Week 9, I'll get the rankings up after Week 8. So they can do this week and next week to get completely finished up. They just got to do something. I hate the rankings the way they are. If you check out a college football realignment video I did about kind of reorganizing everything into 8 conferences, and that way you have 2 regions, and you don't have this damn committee figuring out your power ranking and your rankings each week. You don't have a committee going, okay, well, the rankings say this, but we're going here. So the games we play during the year don't mean shit, really, truly, when it comes to the committee. It all needs to be settled on the field, like everywhere else. So that'll wrap up NCAA Week 7. As always, thanks for watching the Average Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have an American day.